Hey, how is it going, everyone? And welcome to another Super Sentai Mecha review. Now we are going to be doing a mecha review on the Zenkaiger series. This is another series of Super Sentai toys that I had decided to collect because I think they are pretty cool. And in this case, we are taking a look at, from the time of the recording of this video, the last series, the series that came out before Dawn Brothers, which, from the time that I'm recording this, is the series that is currently airing. Although I am not going to be getting very many of the Dawn Brothers mecha or anything from that series. In fact, I've only gotten one thing, but we'll get to that in a later video. So, Zenkaiger is this series where, as it is an anniversary series, we focus on most of the Rangers taking on suits that are reminiscent of the past Super Sentai mecha. For size comparison between a standard vinyl figure, here I have the Zenkaiger vinyl figure, which we'll look over in a later video. And the Zenkaiger mecha, the Kikanoid Zenkaigers, are just slightly a bit taller than the Zenkaiger vinyl figure. They did not release vinyls of the Kikanoid Zenkaigers, so this is pretty much the closest that I'm going to be getting to them. I mean, they're almost the same height. I mean, not exactly the same height, and certainly in the show they would be nearly the same height, but here Juran is just a little taller than he would have been compared to how he would be in the show. And also, I've decided to do a bit of a comparison here between Juran and the Dino Megazord, since the Dino Megazord is the Power Ranger counterpart of Daijujin, the mecha from Koyu Sentai Zyuranger, which was adapted into Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Since Juran happens to be based upon Daijujin, and if you're wondering what version of the Megazord that I'm showing right here, it's Hasbro's version. And just to let you know, I'm not going to be doing a comparison with any of the other Zenkaigers and the mecha that they were inspired off of, because I don't have any of the other ones. So now we are going to take a look at the individual Zenkaiger Kikanoid mecha. And here we are taking a look at Juran, or Zenkai Juran. All of the Zenkaigers Ranger forms happens to be Zenkai, and then their own respective name. This isn't a series where they have their respective color names within their Ranger forms. Like, it's not Zenkai Red, in fact that's a different Ranger. It's Zenkai Juran. And you can see a lot of similarities between the Dino Megazord and Juran. Has the same horns on the side of his head, the same fin on the top of his head, and I suppose the teeth on the Tyrannosaurus head are almost similar to the pattern on the Megazord's chest, the silver pattern that's on the pterodactyl that's used to make the chest for the Megazord. The weapons that Juran comes with would include a sword and a shield, so that's pretty cool. Now here is me converting Juran from his Ranger form, his standard Ranger form, into his Mecha form, and in this case we have Juran Tyranno, or whatever it is called. I do apologize if I got that wrong. And for this, we put the head of Juran backwards, and we also fold down the top of his head, or however you call that, the thing that covers his eyes. You just turn that down, turn his head backwards, and then also the shield piece is used as a support underneath his legs. And of course, here's another comparison. This time it is a comparison between the Tyrannosaurus Dinosaur, and you can see a bit of similarities between the two of them, since the normal Juran is meant to be based upon the Dino-Megazord, while the Mecha Form that he has, the Tyrannosaurus Mecha Form, is meant to be a bit reminiscent of the T-Rex Zord from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And I'm also doing a bit of a comparison here between Zenkai Juran Tyranno with Dynamigo from Kikai Sentai Ryusoger, or as it would be known in Power Rangers Dino Fury, this being a miniature version of the T-Rex Champion Zord, which, according to Simon Bennett, they didn't use the miniature version of the T-Rex Champion Zord because the costume would have been much too heavy for them. I mean, they handled it in Japan, why couldn't they have handled it in America? Or New Zealand? Actually, I think it's New Zealand. That's where they're filming Power Rangers nowadays. But at least for as long as we are doing live action. Now here is a rotation of Juran Tyranno. Next, here is a look at Gaion, or Zenkai Gaion. He is the Yellow Ranger of the series, and he is based upon the Wild Force Megazord, or whatever it was called in Gaio Ranger. Was it Gaio King or something? I'm not entirely sure. I may look it up during editing and put the proper name up on the screen. Gaion only has one weapon, and that's this claw thing on his arm. Gaion and Juran are built somewhat similarly. They have nearly the same leg design and the same arm design, with just a few differences, such as with how their arms are made and what weapons they carry, as well as the design of both their normal Ranger forms and their Mecha forms. Now here I go with converting Gaion from his normal Ranger form to his mechanized form, and this creates a more proper lion since he is based upon a lion. And what you do here is you just kind of fold the legs out, the front legs from the arms, and then fold down the back, to create the hind legs. And you fold his head down, and you put the weapon piece up on the top. I'm very much confident that I've set these things out of order compared to what's shown in the footage. But I'm not watching over the footage as I am doing this recording, so do excuse me on that. And taking a look at Gaion in his mecha form, I do find this to be very interesting. I think that this is meant to be based upon the Lion Zord from Wild Force, although I don't know Wild Force all that much because I haven't really seen very many of the Power Ranger series that came out probably after In Space, and I've seen a few of the more recent seasons, but Wild Force was a series that came out much somewhere in between that, so I don't really know it all that much. And the same will also apply to the other past Megazords that the Rangers and Zenkaiger take inspiration off of. So now here, I'm going to be doing the first transformation, the first combination between two mecha. In this series, we start out with combinations that only use two mecha, although we do get to a combination that uses all four of them later on, along with one more mecha that is introduced later in the series, but we'll get to that in a later video. So, we are going to go ahead and combine Juran and Gaion together. Now, what I'm going to do, which is something that I haven't really done in my review videos for a long time, is actually play back the audio from the original recording just to show you the sound effects that play. Now, as it just so happens, in this case, Juran has all of the sound effects, Gaion does not. So all of the sound effects for this combination are dependent on Juran. And there you have Zenkaiger Juran Gaion, the first of the Zenkaiger mecha formations. And for the sake of comparison, here is how tall Zenkaiger is compared to the Dino Megazord. And, knowing me, Q-Reno from Uchu Sentai Q-Ranger, which, if you follow me on DeviantArt, someday will be known as Novatron from Galactic Squadron Nova Ranger, which is a fan fiction adaptation that I plan on doing based upon Q-Ranger, since Hasbro is too selfish to do their own adaptation. Now we are going to take a look at this version of Zenkaiger. As you can see, as with all of the Zenkaiger mecha formations, it's half one mecha and half another. You can see that it is using the shield and sword from Juran, and it also uses the claw from Gaion. And another bit to add on is that the headpieces on the head of Zenkaiger, the half for Juran does make sound effects when you fold it upwards, and I am going to give a demonstration on that right now. However, Gaion does nothing. Next, we are taking a look at Magin. I think that is how it is pronounced. Do excuse me if that is wrong, but I've heard it as Magin, so that's what I'm going to pronounce it as. Magin is the pink ranger of the series and the one female ranger of this entire series. Well, unless you count the Kikai Flint, is that her name? Magin is based upon the Mystic Force Megazord, or Magi King. Again, if that's wrong, I'll put the proper name up on the screen during editing. And, well, I think that it really does look like the Mystic Force Megazord. Certainly has the same head design, along with the large dragon wings on her shoulders, as well as this weapon piece, the thing that she is holding in her hand. I don't know what it is called. And that is going to be used for when she transforms into her Mecha Form. Speaking of which, I will convert her into her Mecha Form right now, and her Mecha Form is that of a dragon. Although I don't know what Magi Ranger Mecha this is supposed to be based upon, if it is even based upon any mecha from Magi Ranger, though if it is, I will be sure to look it up during editing and let you guys know. And I happen to really like the way that Magin looks in her dragon form. It is very impressive looking. A very nice, well done dragon-based mecha. Just a shame that we didn't get a series that primarily use mecha based upon dragons, because I think that a dragon-themed Sentai would have been really good. Why couldn't we have gotten that instead of another dinosaur series? The mouth of Magin is able to open up, which I think is pretty cool. And the wings can also flap, just like the previous one. Now we are taking a look at Vroon, the Blue Ranger of the series. And Vroon to me looks more like a Transformer toy than a Power Rangers toy. Vroon is based upon the Operation Overdrive Megazord, and I'm not even going to bother making a guess as to what the Megazord's name in Bokenger was this time. I'll just put its name up on the screen during editing. Vroon is one of the more impressive looking mecha. I'm not sure if he's like my second or third favorite among all of them, but he is certainly a very impressive looking one with his vehicle theme to it. And now here I am converting Vroon from his normal ranger form to his mecha form, and it is to create a car, some kind of vehicle. I actually find it to be very interesting. I really like rolling this thing all around. It's very great, kind of very reminiscent of the older 90s or 2000s car toys. And much like with Juran and Gaion, Magin and Vroon are able to combine, and they are to combine into another form of Zenkaiger. And once again, I am going to play back the original audio recording, although I am going to turn the volume down a bit because, as it just so happens, the sound effects for Vroon are much louder than the sound effects for Juran, or at least it is for me. I don't know if this is the case for every release of Vroon, but it is the case for me. And there you have Zenkaiger Vroon Maginu. Now, out of the two versions of Zenkaiger that we have looked over so far, this isn't my favorite, but it's decent. Now, the thing with this one is that you actually do need to connect parts of each half of the participating mecha on each other's half. Like, you need to take one of the wheels from Vroon and put them on the Maginu half, and you need to take one wing from Maginu and put it on the Vroon half. The wings do work the same as they do on Maginu, and you also use that same weapon piece that Maginu had before, as well as the light weapon piece from Vroon, which I, for some reason, didn't mention before. Although, does it roll well? Not really. Like, here is my attempt at trying to get it to roll. It doesn't do so well. And as is the case with Zenkaiger, you can also do these sound effects, but just like before, the sound effects are tied down to just Vroon. Maginu does not have sound effects whatsoever. So now that I have looked over both versions of the traditional Zenkaigers, I'm going to go ahead and do something that is interesting. You see, it is actually possible for you to actually combine any left half mecha with any right half mecha. So what I'm going to do is actually split these two apart and then attach each other's halves together. Now, taking a look at each of these, I would probably have to say, out of the two, I think Juran Magin is probably my favorite, not only between the two alternate formations of Zenkaiger, but my favorite form of Zenkaiger of all of the original four formations of Zenkaiger. Although that's not to say that it is my absolute favorite. In fact, my absolute favorite, we're not even going to be looking over in this video. We'll be looking over that one in a much later video. But this probably would be my second favorite overall, and my top favorite among the original four. And before you ask, it is not possible for you to combine Juran with Vroon or Magin with Gaion, because each of them are specifically designed to only work as one half of the Mecha formation. And there is also the factor that, as I said before, Juran and Vroon have their sound effects, the other two do not. Now, something I would recommend that you do when forming Juran Magin is to actually fold the arms of Magin down to pretty much keep the figure stable. If you hold them upright, just like it was intended to, it will kind of stand to the side, kind of lean to the right a bit, which I think is kind of odd, so I recommend that you use the arms for Magin as a sort of stand. And of course, here are the sound effects. Just like before, it only works with Juran. And then going over Vroon Gaion, I find this one to be pretty impressive. I do like the combination between the blue and the yellow. In fact, I think that the blue and the yellow fit more together than the blue does with the pink or the yellow does with the red. I mean, that's just my own personal opinion, since, as I said before, I think that I like Juran Magin the best out of the original four formations. I'm not sure if this is my second or third favorite of the formations. Although, as for whether it can move better with the wheels, it doesn't do that good of a job. And here are the sound effects. Again, only works with Vroon. And there you have it. That right there is my mecha review on all of the original four Zenkaiger mecha that can combine into Zenkaiger. Thank you so much for watching, and join me next time when I look over the vinyl figures from Zenkaiger, the 4 vinyl figures that were released. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Don't get in front of the camera.